2016 has seen some of the highest rhino and elephant poaching statistics yet, despite increased efforts from government and park rangers. Just 1 month ago, one of our very own ministers was linked to a rhino poaching kingpin. Although there has been a clampdown on poachers and illegal syndicates, some cases land up in court. Wildlife rangers are bracing themselves for the festive season as poachers try to make a quick buck. But to give us the latest, joining us now in studio is Wildlife TV presenter and producer Bonné de Bod. Bonné, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Elvis. Thank you.
Now, we believe that you just spent some time in the Kruger National Park with the special rangers. What are the latest developments around the poaching or the fight against poachers?
Right. So the rangers have had record-breaking arrests this past month. In 1 week, they made 18 arrests. Now, that is just outstanding. I mean, if you think about it, that's several arrests a day. Also, while I was there, I saw the rangers training in all aspects of anti-poaching. Of course, I can't really go into it because of security reasons, but just incredible to see. And a reminder of the effort from SAMParks in tackling poaching. But of course, with to have a number record of arrests, we must bear in mind that this also means a record number of incursions, which have increased in the park. They are now dealing with 15 incursions a day. It's a very high number.
Do they have the human resource to actually stem this tide of poachers coming through?
Well, they are working really hard. You know, now it's the festive season. Unfortunately, you know, poachers are looking to make a quick buck, and the syndicates know this. This is the most lucrative time for criminal syndicates. But we must also remember, Elvis, the park is the size of Israel. We are talking about 2 million hectares with very difficult terrain. So not an easy task defending the park. But the park is prepared, and when I say prepared, I really mean it. I was at one of the training sessions where some new equipment was being tried out. I can't elaborate on it, but it certainly made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. So I think they're very much prepared.
Now, with the holiday makers going through to the Kruger this festive season, it's going to be very busy, I might assume. And as you say, they are ready. But what sort of challenges will these rangers face during this festive season?
You can imagine, as we all start to turn on the brakes to have a relaxing time over the holiday season, the rangers are on high alert and deployed 24/7. The intensity is really high in the park at the moment. I mean, they are dealing, Elvis, with at least 3 contacts a day, which means that the rangers will need to be deployed quickly. Now, I've had a couple of rangers tell me that when they come across sightings, congested sightings in the park, the tourists won't let them pass. Now, that's just unacceptable. These guys are reacting to a poaching. They are armed with lights flashing, and the tourists won't let them pass. The very same tourists who ask why our rhinos are not being protected. So please, if people visit the park, let these guys through. Also, this year we've had tourists who actually spotted poachers in the park and have reported it to the hotline number, and that actually led to successful arrests.
Is that hotline number working, though?
It is working, and it's on all the conditions of entry pamphlets that you get at the gate. So if you see anything suspicious, report it, because that number can save rhinos.
Now, you were filming in Skukuza, we believe, some court case following several arrests that were made there. And this is a clampdown on syndicates. How is that going? Because we've also seen allegations that the minister is linked to a syndicate as well, to a syndicate member.
Right, that's a very good question. You know, I did a very good interview with a ranger who has made a lot of arrests. And the fact is that once that arrest is made, they hand the poachers over to the police, and ultimately the justice system takes over. And they have to trust that system. Now, I've sat in Skukuza court many times. Last week, the state prosecutor had 40 cases on the court roll. 40 cases.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's for me personally, that's bittersweet, because it's great to see the high number of accused, because that means a high number of arrests. But it also brings back and reinforces the fact that we are dealing with a very serious crisis. These guys are coming into the park, and there's no stopping them. You know, we are dealing with highly organized criminal networks. And unless we infiltrate these networks and bring them to collapse, there will be no end to poaching as we know it.
Now, the poacher that was linked to the minister, do you know if there's any other further investigations against him?
This was probably one of the most tweeted about topics over the last 2 weeks. In fact, Minister Mahlobo himself was trending in the top 10 for quite a while. And I think the reason for that is that people are really frustrated when it comes to our rhino poaching crisis. You know, we hear the statistics, we see the images on social media, and then when something like potentially as explosive like this is released, it sort of turns the hard and the great work the guys are doing on the ground into disrepute. Now, the investigations are ongoing. The police are investigating the allegations in this documentary, so it's ongoing. We'll have to wait and see and hopefully get to the bottom of this.
Yes. How far are you with the film? As you say, it's ongoing because it's been going for quite a while and it seems like it's going to be a very, very long documentary.
Indeed, Elvis, we in edit at the moment. But, you know, interestingly, we started 2.5 years ago.
Yes.
And, you know, as with anything, it takes time to sort of build that trust with very important role players.
Yes.
And I don't want to really say too much, but we are getting fantastic exclusive footage, working with the role players, various role players. So we are hoping to have a rough cut early next year. And then, but I'll definitely come into studio to talk about that and before the release.
Let's just briefly talk about Asian countries that are often labeled as a villain in the rhino and elephant poaching crisis. The Wildlife Justice Commission recently took Vietnam to court in a public hearing in Europe. You got to speak to the lawyers. What was the outcome of that?
Well, that was the first ever public hearing by the Wildlife Justice Commission, which basically called for the Vietnamese government to prosecute the criminal network behind the Nikkei illegal wildlife hub. Now, I was in studio a while back talking about the undercover work we did in Asia for Stroop. And a lot of the footage we showed you, we actually filmed in that same hub. So myself and director of Stroop, Susan Scott, we sat down with the lawyers from The Hague. We went through the footage and then we supplied them with certain material to help the investigations. But according to the investigations, the supplying and the purchasing of endangered wildlife products and parts going through this specific hub is estimated at $53.1 million.
So it's a big one.
It's a big one.
Bonné, you're going to keep us updated on developments, but thank you so much for joining us here in studio.
My pleasure. Thanks,
That
Elvis.
was Bonné de Bod joining us here in studio. Of course, you know, that film Stroop, you got to watch out for that one. It's going to come soon. As soon as she's ready, she'll let us know. She'll let us know here first on this channel. You better watch it then.